Good evening, everyone. Welcome to North Santiam Sewer Authority Board Meeting number 72, January 9th, 2023. It is 6:02 p.m. Roll call. And Janet, right off the bat, Janet's not going to be here. Janet absent, and Tony is absent. He's sick, and Janet's reading 2000 or reviewing 2000 bills from the legislature. Okay. Tony absent. So let's see what we come up with. Brian.
Present.
Tim. Mr. Kirsch. You're muted.
No, I was muted. Now I'm here.
Ken present. And we have Ron Evans is our new representative. Do you want to introduce him, Brian, or since his microphone's?
Yeah, again, Ron is back on the city council in Gates. He was appointed the last of October, and Ron's not new to the city council. He's been on it in the past and brings a wealth of information about project contracts, project development, large scale contracts, large development. So we look forward to his input.
Denny.
Present.
A little awkward if Ron can't communicate. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have actually 5, but Ron can't communicate. Do we have a
This
quorum?
happens in our city council meetings. We just have them vote in the chat by typing I, since he can hear us, but can't really speak to us.
Well,
Okay.
he can raise his hand if we need a vote, so we should proceed.
Okay. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none. Announcements, just made it, or Brian just introduced Ron Evans. And the new Gates representative replacing, well, don't want to replace anybody. He's just taken over for Mr. Carmichael. Public comments and questions, please limit public comments to 3 minutes. Real quick, can everybody introduce themselves to Ron Evans? He's going to be our new board member. We'll start with Larry.
Hey, Ron, my name's Larry Rupp. I'm an economic development specialist here at Marion County.
Mary.
Hello, Ron. I'm Mary Camerata, and I'm with the Department of Environmental Quality and part of the Regional Solutions team.
Peter.
I'm with Keller Associates. I'm the office manager of our Salem office here and project manager, and been working with various parts of this project in the sewer and the canyon since 2015. I know others have a much longer history, but I'm excited and looking forward to seeing it progress, continue to progress. So,
Scott.
Hey, Ron, I'm Scott Dadson. I'm the executive director for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. I'm here as part of our staff team that has a contract with NSSA on some organizational development and support for you folks. So I'm listening in today on behalf of the team. I spent 30 plus years as a city manager with large utilities on the East Coast of the United States.
Silas.
Hi, Ron. My name is Silas Lumidabit. I am a grant administrator with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments here along with Scott. Also listening in, providing administrative support and grant administrative support as well.
Arthur,
He's Ken, I'm Arthur Chapel with Business Oregon for the State Economic Development Agency and the State Infrastructure Finance Authority. And so we're administering the very large contract that Business Oregon has with the state, or that Marion County has with the state to fund a part of this project. Thank you.
Chris,
Hey there, Chris Epley. I'm the Community Services Department Director for Marion County, and I work with Larry. And I'm going to start sitting in on these meetings in case I can be of help. My experience is with 30 years, give or take, of city manager experience, and now a couple years with the county.
thank you. Denny,
Hi, Ron. Denny Nielsen, longtime property owner in Detroit, and I now represent the city council from Detroit.
Tim,
Tim Kirsch, Mayor of Mill City.
well, you know, Brian. Ken Woodward, property owner and the chair for the NSSA. Welcome aboard, Ron. We talked a long time ago trying to get you to participate, and guess what? It took a while, but thank you. We need you. All right. And Ann Carey, if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead. If not, okay. We're going to turn this over to Peter with Keller Associates, Marion County Project Update. It's all yours, Peter. It's all yours.
Thank you. I'll add that it looks like Brian just logged in, and as I'm giving my summary, whenever he wants to chime in, by all means, join in.
Let me have, hey, Brian, can you introduce yourself to Ron Evans? He's a new board member.
Right. Me, Brian. Yep. Hey, I'm Brian Nichols. I'm the Marion County Public Works Director and current project manager for Marion County on the large sewer project. New project manager is coming on board in 2 weeks, so I'm looking forward.
See the smile on your face.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long haul.
Yes. Well, thank you all, for what you're doing. Thank you. Go ahead, Peter. All yours.
All right, thanks. So I'm going to run through just kind of a summary of the different phases of the project and tasks that we're working on currently. If you have questions while we're going through it, please ask. But so we have phase one, which is our general engineering services. We're working on the project management portion of that, which we're doing subcontracting as well as contracting with the county. Subcontracting with our subconsultants for various components. And then one specific item that we are working on coordinating with Larry is we have a document of talking points that she worked on and got to me and Brian to review, and we haven't gotten that back to her yet. But it's a document of talking points that is intended to be provided to the board here. So that's in the works. The next one is a strategic permitting plan that we're working on. We're finalizing our sub-consultant contract with SWCA, which is an environmental consulting firm, to develop the environmental, strategic permitting plan. This project is quite large and quite complex, and we brought them on board to foresee potential permitting challenges and put the plan together of how we're going to tackle those. So again, very beginning, more to come. The next task is subsurface exploration. GSI Water Solutions is a lead subconsultant on that. We have our contracting done. We got that done a week or two ago. We have a tentative schedule kicking that one off the week of January 30th. They're working right now to organize and get the structure set up and plan on that, their schedule of work. For those that are not familiar, may haven't seen that, the subsurface exploration has to do with doing test pits for disposal of the wastewater in Mill City and up at the McCoy site. And so it'll start with test pits, doing some, shallow soil analysis, and then go make recommendations, and we'll collaborate and work on, decide on a site that will have a drilling, go to a much deeper depth, and to evaluate, monitor groundwater, and do a groundwater study, a groundwater model. So these are all requirements that are part of DEQ's requirements. So we will be addressing, we're anticipating those. We've been communicating with the DEQ for a long time here. So it's super exciting to me because we're finally getting the rubber's meeting the road here. We're getting to dig in, and quite literally and figuratively. So sorry, I got dad jokes for days, but that one's pretty bad. We test pit. So Matt Kohlbecker is the project manager for GSI. We were talking with him last week. He was looking at test pits late February, and then drilling in March. We're going to be talking about that. I'm a little hesitant about March for drilling. I think there's more work and analysis and discussions to be had. But through all that, those few items I'm covering, those talking points I just covered there, it's contingent on property ownership communication and getting the access and permission, and we're working on that, which is a segue into that next item, the next talking point I have is the property acquisition support. We have Common Street Consulting helping us with that. They do right-of-way acquisition. We've been coordinating and collaborating with Mill City staff, both planning and manager or recorder for Stacy Cook there. Been collaborating and the mayor, thank you, Tim, and collaborating on property, which properties to be targeting and evaluating. And so we're working on that. They're starting to reach out to the property owners and have some discussions, making sure that they're following the proper protocol to do all that with the funding that's involved in this. We want to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. So that contract, the subcontracting is not complete yet, that we have with the Common Street, but we're working on that with the county. But as a way of keeping them moving and not stalling that more, they're working under our project management task to keep that moving. So they're getting the work done. Just had spent an hour and a half with them earlier today, working on which properties to be reaching out to and for which parts of the project. And that is just Mill City currently, not the Indiana or the McCoy site. Yes, Ken.
You got a lot of bass in your voice, in your mic.
Okay.
We have one individual that it sounds muffled.
Okay.
Is there any way you could lighten up the bass and clear it up a little bit?
Don't have a mixer here, but let me see if I can play with it a little bit. Well, if it's improved already, I just adjusted my mic a little bit. I don't know if that's improved or not. So maybe a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Can you hear him a little bit better, Denny?
It's still real muffled for me, but that's probably just me. So please don't interrupt.
No,
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, no, I'm never offended either. So just let me know. I'll do what I can if I can. I honestly, I'm not very good at Zoom, so I don't even know where the setting to adjust it is. So
we'll be discussing Zoom later.
All right. So moving on. So that's phase one. A lot of activities happening there. The way we set it up with the county, anything that touches multiple phases of the project, we're putting in this phase one for general engineering services, kind of an administrative aspect of it. And maybe I'm going, too in depth, and let me know as well. Phase 2 is the Mill City Gates wastewater system. And so the main component there that we're working on right now is we're just kicking off the facilities planning study. So taking the master plan, taking that to the next step. We're anticipating a kickoff meeting in late January. And I've got a list of all the people that we need to get invited to that. And it's a pretty good list here. Mary, we'll be tomorrow we'll be talking. I was going to discuss who specifically from DEQ should be in that kickoff meeting, and those that need to be involved there. And then for Mill City, I've got Dave Kinney, Russ, Stacy. For Gates, I was going to invite Greg Benteen. I think he'd be a valuable resource to have involved in that. For county staff, we've got Brian, Nicholas, Chris Imo, who is starting on the 23rd, as Brian mentioned, and then Larry Rupp. And then for the COG, we got Scott and Silas. And then for the NSSA, we discussed this last week a little bit with the county, but having Tim, having you, Brian, and Janet being Gates, Mill City, and then I guess Ron. Whether you would like to be involved in that meeting as well. So this is a meeting that'll be during the business day, and so if you'd like to be invited and involved in listening in on that meeting, you're more than welcome as well. So,
Who is you?
oh, did I not say you? I said Ron.
Okay.
Yeah. Thumbs up. All right. So I'll add. Actually, let me do that real quick right here. Evans. And then with the county, the Board of Commissioners, Brian was going to talk to the Board of Commissioners and see who, if anyone, would be appropriate to come to that meeting. And then we're going to reach out to Lynn County Planning to make an invite there for them to be involved as well. So that, like I said, it's a long list. We're going to start reaching out and trying to find a day and time, probably a poll to see what we can get to work. I would not anticipate that entire group being involved in every meeting for that facilities planning study. It's just too much and not typical, but the kickoff meeting is rather important. We will be talking about the planning criteria. We spent a good amount of time working on that with the master plan phase. But this is the time to hone it in and get it correct. We will emphasize that greatly and working with the DEQ staff to make sure that they're on board with what we're anticipating. This is the time to get it right. We're going to be working on RFIs in the next few weeks to the cities to gather information. We have a lot of it already, but we need to get updated DMRs, so on and so forth, which Dave Kinney, somehow he knew and he's already sent it to me. So he's ahead of the game. And then I mentioned project planning. We're doing the criteria there. So that's the Mill City Gates facilities planning study. That's kind of the next 2 to 4 weeks. Phase 3 is the Detroit Indiana wastewater system. We do have the McCoy site, the McCoy Creek site, that will be a part of the subsurface exploration, but that's part of phase 1 currently because it involves both. And so this phase 3, we don't have any active tasks currently. Phase 4 is the what we call the Detroit interim commercial septic systems. And that one we have been active in the last month and a half, and had some various meetings with the city of Detroit, as well as with a stakeholder meeting that was on December 13th at the community center there. I'm just going to give a quick overview, kind of what we did at that meeting. We talked about the goals and objectives of the program, because this is a somewhat Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, and Larry, but somewhat separate, but it's, an interim approach to getting some of those businesses off the ground and running. But we talked about the goals and objectives. We talked about a lot about the project administration, filling the folks in that attended, the stakeholders that attended, about the legislative directed outcomes. So those are the requirements that we have to meet as a part of the program. And then what are the project funding and other resources available to the property owners? We talked about the financial assistance, project delivery alternatives. So what does it actually look like? Having a combination of different properties as well as individual properties. And then we also talked about what their needs are and some of those alternatives of, they don't necessarily have to have us as a consultant or the county, doing that work, but they can take it on under their own control. And there's a reimbursement program, which not every rule has been set up, but the county is working on that and getting resolution to that currently, to be able to communicate that to the property owners. And then we talked a little bit about the design and construction process, what that looks like, and similar to what I was just mentioning, what their involvement can be. They can be more hands-off and have us do it, or they can be more hands-on and then be reimbursed for expenses. Then we talked about the next steps and had a question and answer period. We kind of broke up the group and had individual, conversations. I thought it was good engagement from the folks that attended. And I'm looking forward to working with them. Since then, as Keller, we have been reaching out to property owners that gave us their contact information. We've been setting up meetings, and we have our first ones tomorrow. It took a couple of weeks there and during the holidays to get all that set up. But I'm looking forward to starting that process and really starting to gather their needs. What do they want to happen, and what are their vision for each of their individual properties. And then the county is in the process. They're going to reach out to the remaining commercial property owners that we haven't heard from yet, and have another effort to get some interaction and to get them involved. And so that's going to be happening. And I'll hear from the county here either now or later this week about when that process, specifically what date. And then somewhat related to that is the Canes Marina septic system that we're going to be working on. We were working hard trying to get a meeting with the owners, the Lovebirds. Had one set up last week. They got sick. Now we're meeting with them tomorrow. So again, they're one of the commercial properties that we're going to be meeting with tomorrow, and having a kickoff meeting for that portion of the project. That's my notes, my update. I was long-winded. Appreciate the one question, Ken, and hopefully you heard better, Denny. I hope it wasn't too bad. Any questions, clarifications?
I have a question. You're asking the commercial property owners in Detroit to put a system on their small lot. And some of them have asked me or told me they don't want to put a system on their small commercial lot. And has any of that been addressed to where can a tank be installed someplace or a drain field someplace to where, it could handle some of the commercial properties?
Yeah, so you're asking, when you say a commercial system, do you mean the commercial, basically a septic system with a drain field?
Or advanced technology systems set
Gotcha.
up on one piece of property to where they can build back a bigger footprint, a bigger to what they want.
Yeah, there's definitely flexibility, Ken, on what that can be. But that's part of this first portion of the project, is understanding what they want.
Right.
What have they had? What do they want? There's some grandfathered systems that if they're going to increase the footprint, and Kim would be able to help out with some of the technicalities of some of that. But if they're increasing the footprint and it's not the, you know, it doesn't meet the criteria to come in with the same septic system, then we're gonna have to look at being creative. Some of the properties are small
Yeah,
and won't allow for a traditional septic system. So then you would look at the advanced, and if the advanced still doesn't, you know, meet the criteria, then combination, you know, using a drain field on one property that serves two different properties. And, you know, so we're in the information gathering, you know, process right now, obviously. And since our meeting on the 13th, we haven't learned a whole lot new. Because we're reaching out, we're trying to get, you know, that interaction with the property owner. So I'm anxious to sit down and start talking with them and see what they need. So
totally understand it. It's been the holidays. Let them have it, you know, and then let's get started. And it was just a concern of we had a second grocery store, and then the gal wanted to do a laundromat, possibly, you know, and showers and whatnot. It's totally different from a grocery store. So
yeah, that wouldn't be grandfathered.
that's not
grandfathered
grandfathered in,
No.
but you know, it's needed in the area, and they were just going. And one restaurant owner said, "I don't want a drain field. I don't want any of that on my property." So I'm just communicating. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. And part of that is then they can be patient, wait for the system, but there's, you know, that's going to take some time. You know, there's funding that needs to be acquired, and there's no guarantee on that time frame. And so need to be clear about that communication. You know, that there's not a specific year right now that we can say that, you know, we'll have it by then, because that funding is not secured yet and not designed as of yet. So,
Okay.
but that is an option, is to wait.
Or is there anything that you could do to take care of them in the meantime? And then we're going to wait 5 or 7 years.
The interim is this commercial septic program.
Okay.
So that's what this is intended for. So,
thank you.
Yep. Arthur or Mary, both of you have your hand up. Mary?
Yeah, go ahead, Mary. Thanks, Peter.
Hey, Peter, we're having discussions with Department of Justice, or DOJ person, on can we permit like a couple people on one permit? Because normally, like Marion County would do, you know, if it's less than 2,500 gallons, it goes to the one property owner. But to be creative, you might be doing other connections there, you know, maybe 3 properties together, drain field somewhere else. So anyway, we're getting more clarity as to how a permit of that would look like, whether there has to be some kind of formal agreement among the users, or whether it's looking like the permit's actually going to go to where the drain field's located, and then that will be the person responsible for the permit. And then the other ones have to have some agreement. So again, it gets more tricky when you have multiple people on one system. And then my understanding is from Denny that the city is not interested in being sort of a permit holder. So anyway, my point is that when you come up with whatever combinations people are thinking about, let's please circle back with DEQ so that we can be clear about how a permit like that would look like. Okay. So
100%. Yeah, very good points. Very good points. I mean, the administrative side of that is important, and we'll be talking.
Yep. I mean, but these are ideas first, so that'd be great. What? Go ahead, Peter or Brian.
Well, I want to chime in. Yeah, we are assuming that yes, there would be easements if a treatment system was built that served multiple properties. There'd have to be easements for the footprint and alternative, drain field area, and that would be an encumbrance on the property. There'd be an agreement between property owners. So we've right now we're in the exploring phase to see just what the heck can be done out there and who is willing to work with who. But we've already planted that seed with the property owners that if a single property does not have enough room on it to serve, there's going to be, there's going to be some agreements that would need to be put in place, and making sure they know that things like alternative drain field locations, those also would not be developable. And what I was hoping was in that discussion was that some property owners would step forward and say, I don't intend to reconstruct on my property. I would gladly sell an easement to my neighbors to let them, just use this property to serve as drain field for the adjacent properties, that sort of thing. The challenge for the city is simply that the city doesn't own any property other than the old City Hall site that could site a drain field. Even the park is already used up. So in terms of area, so yeah, we planted the seed, and we know the county project is going to have to make all that happen as part of the permitting and construction phases of the project.
Yeah, and Brian, we might have some more guidance as our agent to the county once we kind of understand.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, and so yeah, Peter, we'll make sure that we keep you guys in the loop as ideas start to coalesce and see what kind of issues we might have.
Thank you. Arthur?
Thanks, Ken. So Peter, I'm always thinking about money. Where is your next cost estimate going to happen? When is your next cost estimate going to happen? Is that part of the facilities planning process, or a separate phase to occur later once we've got the facilities plan done? The reason I'm asking about this is we're entering the long legislative session here.
Arthur, you got an echo, a large echo.
Yeah, a lot of feedback, but I heard your question. You're looking to get when's the next cost estimate in the project, and specifically because you're getting into the legislative session, which is always talking about money. It is a part of the facilities planning study for Gates Mill City. That will not cover a cost estimate update for Detroit Idana system. But that will be a part of the process. We've slated that as an eight month process, for the facilities planning study, to get through that. So I wouldn't anticipate that this long, legislative session is what you tell me. I don't know the timeframes, but I'd say, what is that, May, June that it ends, or even sooner?
No, end of June.
End of June. So
If
I
there's
wouldn't that.
any extra money, Peter, that's why we need to know to let the legislation know. So
we can coordinate and do the best we can to give our estimates ahead of time, and what is it looking? Is it an increase? It goes up. I shouldn't say increase or decrease, but it goes and it doesn't usually go down, right? But if we can coordinate with you and give some educated input and consult with you, that we'll do our best to be a part of that process and help. So, but it won't be complete by the time that legislative session ends.
Even the nearest 10 million would be helpful for the county to know. And
Understand.
The sooner the better on that. Yeah.
Understand. So we can knowing that, let's keep that in the discussions as we're stepping through the facilities planning study, and keep talking about it. So we'll, like I said, we'll do the best we can to be a player and contributor. So
Thank you, Arthur. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Peter.
all right.
Anything else for Peter? Keller, I'll be official.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be back here chatting with the board. So
It's been a long time. We're here. We're off and running.
excellent. Well, thanks for having me. If nothing else, I'm gonna step away.
Okay, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, review and approve summary notes, meeting 70 and meeting 71. Does anybody have a motion to accept?
Move approval.
I'll second that.
I better make my notes. Any motion to approve? Tim, second. Any discussion? Let's take a vote. Denny,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Ken, aye. And Ron, you weren't here. Motion passes. Ron would have to abstain. All right, we're gonna turn this one over to approve NSSA board policies, procedures, decorum change. Larry,
Hey, I want to check to make sure everyone's had a chance to read them and to read all of Ross's comments.
yes, I read them.
I
Okay.
have not. It came to me in the invitation, and when I accepted the invitation, all of the documents disappeared. So I didn't get a chance to read it, and I've been trying to work with McCray to get another set, but I haven't been able to read through it yet.
If that's the case, could we scroll through and look at the comments and just look at them now? Would you guys be okay with that?
Yes, I would.
Sure.
Brian, you okay with that?
Sure, it's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen. Okay, do you guys see them?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So actually, let's look at the different comments that we had for clarification. So the first thing that we discussed was our meeting times and types to make sure that that was reflected correctly. And so we have the NISA would like to switch the work sessions to the third Monday to a board meeting. If the board meeting does not have a quorum, it would become a work session. So essentially the discussion that we had was whether or not we had a quorum at a work session, if we should vacate, and should we just have board sessions where we could take action. And so ultimately, the comment.
Are we supposed to be able to see the comments?
Oh,
in the
I have
column?
them. Yes. It's the discussion, the email chain that I had with Ross. And so the attorney comments and then the changes here. And so essentially what he said was just to change this Thursday to Monday. And then just say additional meetings may be scheduled as necessary to meet the ongoing workload of the board. Yes?
Works for me.
Yes.
And then a more detailed discussion. He did not add is here.
So back at on page 1 of 10, wasn't that a philosophy statement? All public meetings of the NSSA will be held in relation to the city halls of Mill City, Gates, Detroit, and Idana, or at such other locations as the NSSA may motion. Isn't that a statement that we are trying to engage our communities?
Yes, and then there was also the provision that there needs to be an electronic, because for the state requirement that there's an electronic option.
Sure.
And so really, he just thinks that
It's too wordy. I think they're important words. That's just my comment.
yeah. But essentially, he's just saying that additional meetings may be scheduled as necessary, and that's his change. The next one we looked at was section 1-20, addition of location to include the virtual option. The ORS 190 has the locations rotating at City Hall, but the policy procedures update would like to give the NISA the option to do it otherwise. And so that goes along with that first section. Next was add language for membership policies that's aligned with the formation docs. We want the cities to be responsible for appointing members, and if they don't, they can't appoint ad hoc members to prevent losing quorum if the board drops down to 5. And so essentially we went back to the NISA IGA, and thus the NISA board has no authority to appoint members to the board, was where it came down to. And that an ad hoc member would not count for quorum purposes. And so they would still need to be appointed by City Hall per the charter, and that we would not be able to appoint ad hoc members, was what Ross's determination was. And then remove the language that NISA's will be funded by user fees. And so we just took that out. And then also we were looking at the ethics and conflicts of interest section that we had in the financial policies. We discussed migrating those into the policies and procedures document. And so he just preferred to reference state law so as to avoid possible conflicts and inconsistencies, and just saying that NISA would follow state law. So if we look down at those in the actual red lines, he removed training sessions because he thought they were redundant. Implementation of our IGA. In-person meeting locations will be rotated amongst the cities, such that each city has the opportunity to host meetings. In-person meetings may also take place at other locations as appropriate. And then here's the electronic option. No big changes through here. No changes. Through here, this is where the NISA is funded by user fees is removed. And then here is what he typed up for ethics, just saying that we will reference state law. And so it ends up being a pretty short section compared to what we had in the financial policies. And not actually repeating the state law, but just referencing that we will follow state law.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So this is supposed to be a user document for the members of the board, right?
Policies and procedures.
Right. So as board members, I want you to ask yourself, have you gone into the state ethics law code and read it? Or would it be helpful to just have it here in our document? So any new member that we bring on the board can read the ethics that we anticipate them following. I don't know too many, I can't probably count on one hand of all the school board members that I worked with that actually went in and read the ethics ORSs.
We
But I
do,
know they read our policy out of our board binder because we reviewed it together.
we do have the ethics training yearly. And we have access to that. What more do we need?
In my opinion, I think we need a little bit more specific information about ethics, but that's just my opinion.
If we were to replicate the state language, what would that translate to in terms of bulk narrative within this policy? I mean, is it a page, 2 pages?
It's actually a pretty significant length of work. What the ethics part that I put in the finance thing, which I think was what was migrated over to this document, was basically straight out of a school districts in Oregon's ethics expectation of their board members, which I think is a realistic standard for our members of the board.
Well, certainly it would make it easier for people who were interested in reading it to do so if it were included in this document. But just because it's included in the document doesn't guarantee that anybody's going to read it at all.
That's true. I understand that, but that goes back to Ken's statement that we do an ethics training. So, but sometimes you have to whack a mole with more than one mallet to get it to go back into the ground.
But you can whack-a-mole by simply having it referenced to something rather than bulking up this document to the point where it becomes cumbersome. I guess that's my point.
How many people know how to reference the Oregon Revised Statutes?
Well, we have, as Ken said, we have the reference or the ethics training every year. So I'm not sure of the importance personally.
Perhaps on our webpage or something, we could have a way to access the ethics through the state. I know that I've been to countless different ethics trainings with my experience with the city and through the board here, and as well as other boards that I've been on. But someplace where somebody would easily be able to find it if we had, like, say, made reference to the place or even had a copy of it on our website somehow. I don't know. But yeah, you don't want to make this document too cumbersome. Otherwise, it'll put folks like myself to sleep trying to read it.
How many pages are we talking about, Larry?
We're at 10 pages right now.
I mean, how many pages are we extracting?
Oh, from the ethics policy? Oh, that was in the financial documents. Oh, I'd put it around 5 pages.
But it had to do with reimbursement and stuff as well. So that actually wouldn't be in the ethics stuff. But anyway, I've said my piece. That's fine.
I think if we put something on the NSSA share, a reference to go to and about ethics training, we can do that. I got a stack of papers and I know it's in there, but I can't get to it that fast.
Ron was holding a message up to the screen. I didn't quite see what it said though, Ron.
Do what?
Ron Evans has a message on the screen. I can't read it.
There's a link, something.
Oh,
Link on the webpage, probably. I think.
Okay.
Where is it?
he pulled it down. A link to the page for the ethics trainer documents, I believe.
You know, all counselors go through ethics training. We go through ethics training. I agree. If we put something in there, it's gonna be lengthy. I just think that if somebody had any questions, they could review it, give them a link to go. I can go over with Larry. I know it's here someplace, but anybody else have an opinion? Well, anything else on this, Larry?
No, not so much. Just, if you felt more comfortable, it wouldn't change much over the next 30 days. If you felt more comfortable that you wanted more time to read it and you weren't ready to make a motion now, that's all right. But otherwise, I do have a clean copy if you guys want to. And then the attorney comments are available to the board members if you guys want to read through the whole process. I think if the only discussion is whether or not we want to have that ethics, I think it sounds like a reasonable compromise to have a yearly ethics training and then just link to the actual statute on our webpage or in our drive.
That'd be simple.
But it's been reviewed by Ross, so it has legal sufficiency as far as having our attorney's eyes on it and incorporating the discussions we've had over the last months on the policies and procedures.
Do we have anybody making a motion to move forward to this, to accept it?
I'm fine with moving forward with it, so I will say move to approve.
Second.
Any second? Any more discussion? We'll take a vote. Tim,
Aye.
Denny,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Ken, aye. Ron, you abstain, correct?
Oh, he's got a thumbs up.
Oh, you got thumbs up? Ah. Well, he did review it. Motion passes. Tim Kirsch made a motion to approve. Denny second. Passes unanimously. Okay, thanks, Larry. Thank you.
Thanks.
Long ago, and recently, it was brought back to our attention. It was talked about email addresses, passwords to Google Drive. McCrae's not on here. We should have our own email addresses through the NSSA. And the passwords, we're not trying to lock anybody out. Just some of it doesn't need to be, the access to some of it does, for everyone to have access to it all is not needed. Scott, do you have anything to say about that? Are you in halftime or what?
Oh, no, Georgia's kicking their butt. What I would say is, whether you have NSSA addresses or not, or you have your own on the first subject, either one is fine. However, they have to be maintained. So if you're a member of the board and the public wants to reach you, you just have to be maintainable to be able to get to. So let me talk with McCrae about that and the access into the Google Drive. The Google Drive, I assume, is the what you folks are using so that people have access into the the materials that run the NSSA, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I'm not up to speed completely about access into that, but let us put that as a note for conversation. We'll get back ASAP on that and then figure out if that's the best way for y'all to do it. And just make sure that folks have access to the information. Now, for right now, that's fine. But remember, when you're negotiating contracts and you're in attorney-client privilege, you're gonna have to deal with those issues. If you all of a sudden have personnel, you have to deal with those issues. So just a reminder that I'm sure Larry would agree with me as well. Just there are going to be things to access and things not to access. But I'll deal with McCray and we'll figure that part out for you.
Thank you. Brian mentioned something before about having access to all the documents, but not necessarily having access to the emails or GoDaddy or Wix, stuff like that. Am I correct, Brian?
Well, I think it's the ability to edit documents that should be
Yeah.
curtailed.
That's an invite issue.
There's, you know, and Tim probably has been to these League of Oregon Cities trainings about public records and the retention of public records. So if you're using your private email account and someone makes a public records request, that means they go into your private email account. If you've used your name to respond about an NSSA issue out of your private email, everything's fair game. And they can download your emails and scrutinize them. They are very clear about keeping very specific silos. So you can retain any emails that you received from a constituent regarding the NSSA, and that can be placed into the public record. And you know, that was my training as a school superintendent from the Oregon School Boards Association. It's the same here. So I am quite, it's just not standard protocol to use your personal email to do the public's business, I guess is all I'd like to say.
I agree.
Yeah, you're making good points there, Brian.
I agree, Brian. I think that's a terrific point. There are some mechanical issues with our Google email or our Gmail account. I mean, I try on a regular basis to respond to people who have questions about what's happening within the NSSA. And every time I go to, for example, to answer an email, it instantly takes me to Wix. I don't know why it does that, but that's the way the system apparently is set up. And then it's very awkward in order to write a reply. And when I send it, it comes from Ken Woodward. It doesn't come from me. So somebody has manipulated the system so that there's an automatic default to Ken Woodward as the writer or crafter of an email. I sent, for another example, a couple of documents to Tony Maroney's a month and a half ago. And when he responded to Ken because the email supposedly came from Ken and it wasn't from me. So, you know, I'm happy to contact Sarah Alabin, who's the only one I know that has a clear understanding of how this monster works, and try and get things solved. But the way we are right now, we're sitting with 400, when I open up the Gmail account, we're sitting with 480 emails on there. I don't know what I can delete or not delete, but it's a mess. It's you know, just clobbered with all kinds of useless information that no one's ever going to use. But I don't know whether I have the authority to delete that information, which I would like to do, but I don't want to create problems for others. So there are several issues that need to be addressed.
Okay.
We're not supposed to delete anything my understanding, talking with Janet. Right yet, so,
Well, at least Ken, somebody could archive some of those 480 emails.
Yeah.
So that you don't have that batch of information staring at you that just gets in the way of everything you're trying to do and be efficient at completing the task.
understand. And I agree, I agree with Brian and everybody that, we need to do something. We've talked about it long ago. And it's certainly surfaced again, so we just need to do something about our emails. And I understand.
Thank you.
So we're going to, Scott's gonna talk to McCray. Let McCray get some rest. And we're going to put this on the February 6th agenda and try to have it resolved by then. Does everybody agree?
Thank you.
Here, here.
Okay,
Works for me.
we'll get her done. Treasury report. We had, as of 11/1, we had a balance of 147,904. We had 12/5. There was a check written for Wix 276, and that's something else we're going to talk about this Zoom. And what's the other one? Larry, what is
Teams.
Teams? Wix and Teams, is that it?
Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams, okay. Something else we'll put down for notes, Microsoft Teams. 276, that comes due in the 10th or 11th month of 23 again. GoDaddy, there was a check on 12/5, 4434 that I paid for. I paid for Wix, I paid for GoDaddy on my credit cards. And so that was another check, and then 12/5, another check for 4391 to the state of Oregon Ethics, which gives us a balance of 147,540.03. As of today. So that's where we are there. We haven't received any bills from Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, which is nice. I don't think they're doing it for free, but they've been.
Merry Christmas, right, Scott?
Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah.
So that's where we are with that one. I sent out McCray sent that. You said, Brian, when you went on there to, for the invite, that you clicked on yes and then everything disappeared?
I sent it to my calendar. All the links for the Zoom stayed, but the documents that was sent along by McCray disappeared.
Oh,
I would recommend that packet just be set in the Google Drive, so we can just go to the Google Drive and open the packet and all our documents are there.
all right, I'll make a note of that.
That way, if a document gets adjusted, the individual who is framing the packet can just pull the old document out and put the new document in with a revision date on it. And that way, everybody has the information they need to review.
Okay. Part of discussion with McCray. All righty. Do we need to make a motion to approve the treasury report? If so,
I move to approve the treasury report.
I'll second.
Just a minute. Jim seconds. Any more discussion? Take a vote. Denny,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Brian,
I,
Ron? And Ken, aye. Ron said aye. Motion passes. It's all approved. Denny motions to approve, Tim second. Motion passes. Okay. IGA between Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments and the NSSA. Silas, Scott, or do you want to leave that for?
We wanted to come back. We're doing a full review. We're in the middle of some interviews right now as well. And staff assignments. And so we want to come back in February, talk about that. I also want to be able to have, I see Chris is on here. Want to be able to have a conversation, Chris, if it's okay, with Brian and then the engineer, just to make sure that I'm clear and understand a series of benchmarks as they relate to the operational plan objectives found in the agreement. So I want to get up to speed on that, and that would help so that I'm matching their schedule and timeline of where they are in certain projects and permit process, so that I line that up with the operational plan deliverables by the NSSA board. That's part of what we need to do in our agreement. So yeah, we want to come back at that next meeting and do that.
All right, we'll move that to the February. Did I have it right? February 6th? Yes, I do.
I think it is. Silas, am I missing anything else? Okay.
No, nothing on my end from there.
Yeah, and we will definitely make sure that we look into the discussion that we just had in regards to G drives and all of that kind of stuff. We did have a good conversation with Sarah prior to Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
So we had a conversation with her. We thought we got a lot of stuff clicked off our list, but that doesn't mean we got to everything. So Sarah's been real good about responding to the things that we need. So we'll try to keep on that and be able to have better answers for everybody.
Silas, you sent me an email wondering access the last NSSA meeting recording. It's there. It's there. I will contact you and I'll direct you to it. Our summary notes, everybody's been real busy. So we know we need to get that caught up. I don't think we're that far off, but
No.
we'll get to it.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I was trying to find the last meeting so I could figure out what happened while I was away at the League of Oregon Cities training, but I couldn't locate it. So some of the tabs where you can go into the last meeting and you can click on the video, and the video attaches to the, I guess it's a YouTube link, and you can watch the old session, but the most recent one I could find was October of 22.
No, we have
So I'm not quite sure if I'm not looking in the right place. It was, I went onto the website and clicked the link. So
I was
maybe that
particularly
might be
actually,
one of the other things that goes along with treasury reports and summary notes.
It's under admin and it's recordings. And I can give you a call, Brian, and I can direct you to it.
But I'm sorry, I guess I thought they were supposed to be on the webpage.
They are. Or,
No, they might be in the Google Doc, but they're,
okay, I'm not a person to put them on the webpage. You don't want me messing with that.
all right. Well, I think I got a call from a constituent today wanting to look at it too. So, and I said, well, I'm trying to do the same thing, but so.
We'll get it on there. It's there. It's not, okay, it's on our Google. It's not on the webpage. You don't want me on there.
Okay. I do think people go in and I think people go in and watch them. Maybe they need a sleep aid or something. I'm not sure.
Well, we can let Tim handle this, right, Tim?
You don't want me trying to move something from one platform to another, whatever. I think, and probably the problem is Sarah was doing that kind of stuff for us before. And we're hoping that that'll transfer over, I think, to the COG.
Yes. We'll put it on Scott.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. That'll be something we need to get caught back up on as well. So thank you for noting that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you don't want me on there.
Note to self, do not allow Ken on any electronic device.
Yeah, please. Really got this going. Thank you. Next meeting topics, we're going to do emails. Passwords. We're going to what else did I just put down? See, you don't want me on there. I can't, here's my,
We're going to talk about the IGA, the operational plans, and the things contained within the scope of work. And we're going to talk a little bit about how those tie together with where things are now, so that you folks have an understanding about what's going to be on your plate as you move through those action items.
so thank you. Anything else?
I'd like to kind of catch up with the communication plan. I don't know if you talked about that in the December meeting, but we had talked about reaching out to our communities it sounds like Peter has some talking points for us to do. So I can continue looking at that.
Yeah, that's part of it. Thanks, Brian. Anything else?
Keller update at the top.
Yep.
Sure looked, Brian was sure smiling when he was going, we got somebody hired. He's done a lot for us.
He sounds like he'll be a pretty good guy too, that they hired, that has a lot of experience.
Good.
Mm.
Brian,
They're all really excited about him.
good. And I had a name down here someplace. Anyway, Keller update, email passwords, IGA, Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, and the NSSA, and communication. Oh, webpage. Getting caught up. Summary note. Anything else?
It seems we're still down a person from IDANA, or
We are down. Denny has reached out several times.
I announced the opportunity for someone from Gates to fill the position at each and every council meeting we have, and I'll do it again tomorrow night in Detroit. I've also sent some emails to people who have sort of given me a little bit of interest regarding the position, but I haven't had anybody respond.
Do they have a mayor
At
or
least
something? I mean, I guess.
anyone respond who's willing to accept the responsibility.
The mayor of Idana drives a recovery vehicle, and his hours are terrible. He could be in bed at 11 and up at 2 in the morning and going to rescue somebody. His hours are terrible.
I wasn't volunteering him. I was wondering if we kind of got an official thing on their agenda. So I know they know of it in the background, but it's been a while since they've had.
When's their next meeting, Denny? Do you know?
Whose next meeting?
Idana's next.
I have
council.
no idea.
It's a Wednesday or a Thursday.
I have trouble keeping track of my own meetings.
Yeah, me too. I will contact them and then see if I had a tree fall on our place, and so I'm pretty busy. So I'm gonna be up there quite a bit, and let's see if I can get to one of them. And
Well, you know, just so you know, Ken, I've spoken with Fred, the new fire chief. I've spoken with his admin, Laura Harris. I've spoken with Tony. I've spoken with another individual who lives in the community. I'm sort of at a point where if there isn't any community interest, we can follow what we've described in our policies and just appoint someone on an ad hoc basis and move forward.
wasn't there something in there about ad hoc and the policies, procedures that?
Yeah, the
What's
charter
a good
document
idea?
does not allow
that-
ad hoc membership. And if you did appoint an ad hoc member, they wouldn't have any voting power.
Yeah, that was in that, yeah. And so,
Then let's just leave it alone for now, because if the community doesn't have an interest in being represented, then that's their prerogative.
yeah, but
But we continue to spin our wheels and churn this issue over and over again. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So we'll just continue to report through Detroit to Idana, and if someone is interested, hopefully they'll announce that interest and we can enlist them.
well, definition of insanity, doing something over and over and over. I've been doing this 12 years, Denny.
Well, when you get the message, read it.
Well, I think that then just send them a letter and say, we're not gonna beat this
This is
drum
about
anymore. If you
volunteers.
find somebody, send them up.
This would be a different issue if there were compensation involved. So let's just do what we do, and we'll be the puppets of those in charge, and we'll do it gladly and do our best to perform eloquently.
That's what we'll do. And if I can, I will get there in person and just, that's our last chance. We can do it. And plead our case and go for it. So if no one bites, then that's fine.
I move we adjourn.
We don't have to do that. Anything else?
Oh, I just have a quick question. Just wondering how much longer we have on our period to hear back on the Ford Family Foundation grant? If it's how long that review period will be going?
Yeah, so the review period, they were estimated from 8 to 12 weeks. And we are around starting 8, so we should be hearing back in as three or so weeks. And I can actually reach out to them to ask them on their wait time for that.
Good. Thanks, Larry. Our update. Anything else? All right, everyone. Oh, Mary, you got your hand up. And Matt, yeah.
That's right. Real quick, have you guys made like a one pager so that you can give it to your state representative and your state senator, so that if there's any money at the end of June, that they know that you have your handout, and any extra money would be appreciated to help with the Idiana Detroit project, as well as if the Mill City project needs more. So
Arthur, you have our handout, don't you?
that's a different handout.
I know.
No, I
got it.
don't have a handout. It's something that you need to talk about. By we, I mean us here, but also Marion County, elected officials, probably Scott at the COG. I think the key is to know roughly how much more we need. I think everybody knows the project is going to need more money. How much is the? I think my advice, you know, this is Oregon's advice necessarily, but my 2 cents would be that this would probably be the last bite at the apple. Big grant to support a project like this. I think this legislative session will be your last best opportunity for the state legislature for funding. Always other options. There's existing programs, there's state, there's EPA programs, there's Economic Development Administration programs you can apply for. If you want to go before the legislature, I'd say this long session would be the chance. Scott, you might have something I'm going to add to that take, or contradictory opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say, so our legislative committee includes Marion County, but we'd be happy to reach out to Marion County about what kind of coordinated asks they may be making for any legislative matter. So, but I think a one pager probably wouldn't be a bad idea to discuss.
Yeah.
Silas, we can chit chat about how to kind of frame something so that these folks as a board can talk about that and coordinate that effort with Marion County. I think Mary's right. You want to have an understanding that you know, we had an estimated project cost. We're meeting half of it or getting close to half of that, and we've got some more goalposts to reach, and we want to make sure that those dollars are following in there. So we'll see what we can do as well on that.
Keep us in.
And we knew we were 5 million short on the Gates portion. Right? On our original pre-COVID cost estimate, we were 5 million short on that portion. No, Jan Fritz intends to hit that 5 million. That was the plan last time I spoke with him. If you need 8, 12, you should go in for 8 or 12 rather than 5 now and 5 later.
Yeah.
The other thing, Ken, and the rest of the board, is you're going to need operating money. So, I mean, construction is one thing, but, you know, in order to keep this reasonably priced for the users, it's going to take a while to build you know, how many more users, right? It just does. And so seeing if there's any way, and I know there was some conversation about, let's talk to Salem to see if they can put some fee on their wastewater. I mean, and those are great ideas, but again, there's something that it's construction, but also keep in back of your mind to be able to have that support, kind of like, you know, some of your schools got support because, you know, the families weren't there, and so they're keeping the schools afloat, or Gates is getting help with their water district. So be nice to plant the seed that in order for this wastewater system to really have a chance to flourish, it'd be nice if there was a commitment by the state to help, or wherever that commitment's going to come. So just sort of some things to think about. And it takes a while to kind of get your ask and get it out there. But I do think the O&M piece is probably going to be important as well.
Larry, did you understand what Mary was talking about, a user fee on the Salem residents' water bills.
No, that's the first time I've heard about it.
Yeah,
Um,
Daniel used to talk about it.
we've
The
talked,
idea, it's an idea that sort of predates most of us on this call, I think. But the idea, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was the North Santiam is a very clean river and it provides drinking water for the city of Salem. And as the city of Salem, just to avoid the excess cost of additional water treatment, they should perhaps support upriver who need extra expensive wastewater treatment, right, above and beyond standard. So I'm not taking a policy, I'm not taking an opinion on this, I'm just trying to outline the way I understood the idea. It's not an easy lift to convince all 300,000 residents of Salem, Oregon to $1 a month water bill, right? But it's an idea, it's an interesting idea called ecosystem services. There's models around the country that you can go look at. We're not gonna get that done in the next 6 months, right? It's a big lift and one that people have floated in this meeting in the past, but I don't think we've ever really investigated how you go about putting that together. Mary, is that correct?
Yep, that's about right.
well, Tim approached that long ago and boy, oh boy, did he get some feedback on that one.
I know, but those are the things you gotta plant and keep working.
He planted it and somebody else planted.
I just barely mentioned it.
Yeah.
They got a
But I
little
think the board is going to have conversations about how the construction, the phasing, the phaseology, how that works. And then that operation plan is going to have to take that into consideration. So if it's not a tax, maybe you got to come up with alternatives. Maybe the idea is that Salem would be possibly willing in a long-term management contract to go ahead and maintain the year-over-year cost structures. Those kinds of things. There are lots of ways to skin a cat, but unless you understand what that is and what that's going to be, that's got to be part of the operational plan thinking now. So I think that's why sitting down, and this is where your focus is going to be, folks, is that operational plan, the development of it, and thinking through how we fund these things into the future. You got to be able to put 2 or 3 different ideas on how to do it, in addition to how to do revenues. Revenues for the service.
The thought was to put like 30, 50, 60 cents on the water bill. I'm talking to Larry mostly here. And like a user fee, we can't afford what it costs for a sewer system up in the canyon. None of us can afford it. So we needed some extra revenue to make it work, as Mary was talking about. And it was like a user fee on everybody in Salem. We're paying the bill or some of the bill for a sewer system so they can have clean water. It's just not the residents, it's the businesses, it's everybody downriver. And so Tim can probably talk about it now, but he brought it to the mayor's attention. It's all yours, Tim.
Oh, well, it was pretty simple. We had discussed it, obviously, and some sort of like you said, Ken, a user fee that would go on those Salem residents' water bills, because of the rules that are put upon us that make us have to have a much more expensive sewer treatment facility. So the rules are the largest benefit to them. So we think that they should help pay for it. And I just mentioned it to Chuck, the mayor. Hey, we ought to get you guys to help pay for this. And he smiled at the time, but I don't think
He's no longer mayor.
he's moved on. No, Chuck was a great friend of mine. He's a good man. I think it scared him a little bit.
Well, it's serious, and there is a cost up there that is way above what we can afford. So that's how we were trying to figure out how to to help pay for it, the operation cost, everything else. So that would generate a lot of money. So it's something to think about. We can discuss it later, but just wanted to make you aware of it, Larry.
Thank you.
Have you met Mayor Hoy?
Do what?
You met Mayor Hoy?
You're a little wobbly.
Mayor Hoy is the new mayor.
Oh, I have not met the new mayor yet.
Yeah.
You can, Scott or I can do that for you when you're ready.
Yeah, and as a Salem resident, bring it on, man.
Hey,
Don't forget Staten. There's a couple downstream users too.
Absolutely.
all of them. Turner, yeah, everyone.
Turner gets their water from Salem.
And where do they get their water from?
Santiam River.
Or Santiam River. Mhm.
So guess what? Yeah, we need to look at that. So good point. Glad we brought that up. Everybody's aware. We can talk about it again. Anything else? All right, I know Denny wants out of here, so hey, thank you, everybody.
I
Great
just want to eat dinner.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll talk later. And
Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you.